I saw where you said the WNBA, they're targeting Caitlin Clark. What do you mean by how she's being guarded or, enforced?
I think you and I both know the landscape that we live in today.
So this is Caitlin Clark, and she is the best rookie in the WNBA. One of the best rookies in the history of the WNBA. A really freaking good player.
Both sports-wise and non-sports-wise, right? We are in a red-blue. And if you're red, you can't agree with blue. And if you're blue, you can't agree with red.
A historically great player for her age and experience in the WNBA. But one person who did not think she was going to be good is Geno Auriemma. And we have made plenty of videos talking about Geno Auriemma. I have over
Imagine this. The most powerful coach in women's basketball tells Caitlin Clark she's not good enough for his empire. He had Paige. He didn't need her. That silence from Geno Auriemma wasn't an accident. It was his way of shutting a door in her face. But here's the twist. Clark didn't just walk away. She built her own kingdom at Iowa, filling arenas, lighting up highlight reels, and pulling millions into the game. So how did the player he once dismissed turn around and cost him millions? Let's break it down. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. What happens when the most powerful voice in women's basketball decides you don't belong? That's the moment Caitlin Clark faced when Geno Auriemma didn't even bother recruiting her. He had Paige Buchers, and that was all he needed. To him, Clark wasn't worth reshaping his roster for. She wasn't the star his empire needed, and that's where everything started. The gatekeeper of the game deciding who mattered, and Clark left, standing in silence. But instead of shrinking back, she made a decision that flipped the script, not just for her career.
Whereas most things are in the middle. If you're a college player and you're a great college player, like Caitlin was, the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players.
I'm pretty sure I've got maybe 150,000 views just going over this take over and over again and how dumb it was. And we've revisited it. We always revisit it a few times.
By saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP at the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid.
Obviously there are plenty of people. There are more than you can think of that would apply to. But obviously Geno Auriemma is one of them. Obviously Cheryl Swoops is one of them. He's not going to be out there naming names, but obviously that applies to a lot more than just
but for the entire landscape of women's basketball. Think about this. UConn has long been the program where legends go to prove themselves. Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, Breanna Stewart. If you weren't in Husky Blue, were you really at the top? Geno thought that answer was obvious, and he made it painfully clear that Clark wasn't going to be part of his dynasty. On the surface, it looked like rejection. But when Clark chose Iowa, she wasn't settling. She was grabbing the chance to lead, to have her own program built around her instead of playing behind Buchers in a system where her shine would always be capped. That move became the foundation for one of the biggest player-driven shifts the sport has ever seen. By her sophomore season, arenas that had once been half empty were turning people away at the door. Students camped outside Carver Hawkeye Arena just to get a glimpse of her threes from the logo. Games that used to struggle for viewership started pulling in numbers. Networks had never expected from women's basketball. She wasn't just playing games at Iowa. She was putting on shows. Thousands of fans packed inside while millions more tuned in, watching clips that blew up on TikTok and Twitter seconds after the ball left her hands. Those half-court shots weren't just highlights. They were proof that Geno had missed the player who wasn't just part of the story. She was the story. And here's the crazy part. The numbers backed it up. Iowa's matchup against LSU shattered records with nearly 10 million viewers, more than most NBA playoff games that same year. Every Iowa home game turned into a sellout, something that hadn't been seen in decades. One player changed the ticket market, boosted merchandise sales, and doubled TV ratings overnight. Iowa wasn't supposed to be the place you made history, but Clark turned it into the epicenter of the sport. Every time she walked on the court, she reminded everyone that being overlooked by UConn wasn't a setback, it was fuel. Geno, he wasn't impressed, or at least that's what he wanted people to believe. He brushed off her accomplishments with dismissive remarks.
That it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning. So if you're a WNBA player, and believe me, I've coached the best, and I've pissed them off a lot, and they let me know about it.
And the funniest part about this is this was directly after Caitlin Clark dropped 30. Like, Caitlin Clark literally dropped 30 points versus the Washington Mystics the night before this.
But they were tremendously disrespected. And none of them are going to say it. But human nature is, okay, this kid's coming into the league. And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said.
She had just dropped, I repeat, she had just had her second 30-point game. Like, Caitlin Clark since then has had one 30-point game. She has had one 30-point game since then. At this stage of the Geno Auriemma interview, she had had two.
Shaking his head at the idea she was dominating anything. He once said she was like a little kid playing in a driveway, as if her shots were nothing more than trick plays. He doubled down during interviews, not even targeting Clark directly sometimes, but rolling his eyes at the frenzy around her. That wasn't just casual criticism. That was the old guard trying to reassert control, to remind fans that he was the authority on greatness. But the more he talked, the louder the crowd grew for Clark. His own words started to backfire, alienating even casual fans. On some platforms, he even went after her supporters, suggesting they were being stupid or disrespectful for putting Clark on a pedestal too early. Instead of putting doubt in her, it only gave her fans more reason to rally. The narrative began to shift. This wasn't just a young star making noise. This was a once-in-a-generation player proving the system had failed her by shutting her out. And while he was talking, Clark was working. She silenced every doubt without saying a word back. She dropped 41-point games and notched triple-doubles in the spotlight.
But nobody's printing. You know, Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player.
Exactly it. Is that every single person thought the 2020 ESPN recruiting class was historic. The 2020 ESPN 100.
You're going to say, I'm going to make a statement. Targeted by society, targeted by her looks, targeted by her reputation, targeted by the disrespect that they've shown to the WNBA. There's a huge target on this kid's back. I thought Cameron Brink said something really smart.
Was seen as a historic class for its time. Like, you don't realize how hyped Paige Beckers was. And you don't realize, like, look, if you want to say, oh, Caitlin Clark was always better. No, she wasn't. Caitlin Clark was not better.
Her rookie season in the pros wasn't just solid, it was historic. She earned Rookie of the Year with ease. That wasn't all. The kid in the driveway finished fourth in MVP voting, placing higher than most veterans. That's where Geno's words came back to hit him. Every category he doubted her in, she proved herself. Every stage he said she couldn't handle, she dominated. But here's where the real payback hit. Clark had the chance to join a league that would have given Geno more power, even offering her $1 million deal on the table. That was his chance to reestablish himself as a gatekeeper again, to attach her rise to his machine. And she walked away. She didn't take the money, she didn't give him the satisfaction. Instead, she kept her platform where she controlled the terms. That decision wasn't just about cash, it was about power, taking it out of his hands and showing him she didn't need his empire to build her own. Clark's biggest win wasn't a trophy or an award, it was control. She proved players don't need someone like Geno deciding who gets to shine. By building her own spotlight, she shifted the power away from the coach who once ignored her. That's the real payback. Think about it. She turned down the league deal that would have put money straight into his pocket. That decision cost him millions and broke the idea that he still decides the future. So what do you think? Did Geno finally get humbled? And is Clark's rise the true changing of the guard?